Hey everybody, welcome back to The Secret Podcast. My name is Matt Diavello. This is episode 25, and I have a special guest with me, special co-host.
Ni hao.
I told you, that's racist. We can't say that.
Am I looking in the camera?
You can absolutely look in the camera.
Okay, because I just keep looking at myself.
Let's just talk to people. Let's actually just address...
Hi.
Hey, how's it going? You've done this like a million times.
I just forget every single time.
A lot of times you look up at the monitor, which is not
I look at myself.
appropriate.
Yeah.
You do. Now, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, we've got questions for both of us, and we're just gonna get right into it. We're just gonna hop in. We got
Try
Tom's
not to
Odyssey. He says, "Hey, Natalie, thanks for the feedback on the video, by the way. You got Tom, yeah, that's right. Oh yeah, he actually he made this amazing video where he broke down my filmmaking style, and you know how like in an editing timeline you have these different blocks that you can kind of move around and like
Sure.
you don't know.
No.
But he actually cut it out and made it as an actual physical representation of how I lay out my videos. When I go from vlogging or go from A-roll to B-roll.
Wow.
Super interesting. You guys should look it up.
That's really nerdy.
Yeah. No, but so it's perfect for me.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great. Tom's question here. If you could go back in time, what would you say to your 16-year-old self? Any life lessons or anything else you wish that you had known?
I feel like yours is so predictable.
What would you think mine is?
Be a minimalist.
No. I don't think that's the advice that I needed at 16.
Yeah.
I think the advice I needed at 16 was embrace difficult conversations. I've been in relationships and I've had negative friendships in the past and maybe associated with people that I shouldn't. And it's very difficult to have those hard conversations to talk to somebody and be like, hey, listen, I want to break up.
Is that specifically what you mean here? When you were 16?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean,
your life was so hard. You're telling your 16-year-old self to be better at breaking up with people.
I was probably 18 at the time, but I was in a relationship for 2 years when I wanted to break up after 6 months, but I just didn't have the courage to do it. Yeah. So that's a huge problem. If you're in a relationship that's bad and that's negative and that isn't actually giving you what you need, getting out of it can be really challenging. So embrace it. And I've noticed that throughout my life is that embracing those difficult conversations, if I avoid it, it becomes much, much more painful.
Do you think it's just difficult conversations or just things that scare you in general? Is this just about telling your 16-year-old self to man the fuck up?
Man the fuck up, one way of putting it. I'm not very PC now with men embracing femininity. But I would say, embracing, seeking discomfort. That's a great idea. We should actually use that as our tagline.
And create merch around it.
We should do seekdiscomfort.com.
Done.
If only we were that smart.
Yeah. I think my advice to my 16-year-old self is be proud of what makes me unique. I think when I was 16, I think as many 16-year-olds are, I was so fixated on fitting in. As a, mixed race, half Asian and growing up in Australia, you don't really fit in. So I think that I would say really be proud of what makes me unique and just love what makes me unique as well, which I've really grown to be proud of and love as I've grown up.
I love that.
But it took some time.
Yeah, that's great. Hamed has a question here. Oof, this is heavy right from the beginning. With the corona epidemic escalating in Italy, what are y'all going to do with regards to your wedding?
Hamed, what the fuck's your problem?
Wow, bro. Can you just chill on the corona questions for a second?
Salt in the wound, my friend. Salt in the wound.
It's literally corona in the wound.
Yeah, not gonna lie, sleepless nights have occurred. And we know that this is not life and death for us. This is so first world problems, being oh no, our wedding.
Because there's a lot of people that are really affected by this, who have loved ones that are either sick, who have died, or who are at risk.
In lockdown, it's running out of resources.
But we also think about our parents through this situation as well. Our parents are a little bit older now, and them going to Italy. That's our biggest concern and fear is the well-being of our friends and family.
Yeah, I mean, we'll break it down. The epidemic, as we all know, has escalated so quickly. I mean, 2 weeks ago, we all knew about it, but it wasn't like a thing. And now we just cannot stop reading, talking, hearing about it. It's been playing on our minds a lot. Not just because we're like, what are we going to do with this wedding? But it's more like, how are we going to help our guests who've spent so much time, effort, and funds really planning for this trip? How are we going to help guide them? When and how on earth are we going to make a decision about whether or not to go ahead with this wedding or postpone it or cancel it? There's so many unknowns, and because it's been moving so fast, it's been really hard to kind of keep up with it mentally. What's also a bit stressful is that if we do want to postpone it and push it back a year, we're dealing with potentially really high demand next summer in Italy, with a lot of displaced weddings and couples looking to rebook. So we also have to make decisions quickly off very little confusing information that seems to change every day. So
it's kind of crazy. Like, I don't think we ever could have guessed. Nobody could have ever guessed in a million years that our wedding would potentially be postponed in an entire year because of a global pandemic. Yeah. It's just kind of...
It's a story.
It's a story. It's a story. And like, I think one thing that we've been thinking about is big picture, long term. So we're going to be together, hopefully forevs. Hopefully like 60 plus years. And then maybe once you pass away, I'll have a few years of to be single by myself.
Bachelordom.
Bachelordom at 95. But like, in the grand scheme of things, pushing things back a year, as long as hopefully our families and friends can find a way to reschedule without losing out on any money. I think we're doing the best that we can with the situation, but 1 year postponing a wedding, not the worst situation in the world.
And what we keep weighing up is by keeping the wedding this year, what have we got to lose and what have we got to gain, and weighing up those two factors. And quite frankly, right now, there's not much to gain and a lot to lose.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's as of today, which of recording this, it's March 10th. It seems like every single day there's new news and new updates. It seems to be...
Yeah. For context, Italy just... like the full country went on lockdown yesterday.
Yeah.
So we
so
are
new.
And banned weddings nationwide 2 days ago.
Yeah. But
so we're moving fast.
I think it goes without saying we're not the experts on this. So if you guys really want actual information, like check your government. Good luck. Check your government's health website. In the U.S., that's the CDC. Travel advisor in Australia is super helpful if you're thinking about traveling out of the country.
But a lot of people reached out to us on Instagram, on comments and DMs, because Matt put up a video with us like reacting to the coronavirus news. And especially a lot of Italians provided insight and thoughts, and that really helped. Mm-hmm. Like, we can't tell you, we poured over those comments being like, okay, well, someone in Rome says it's fine, and then like someone else is saying it's fine on this side of the country. So like, it was so valuable to us having you guys like weigh in and also give us your thoughts.
Hamed wants to know, Natalie, who is your biggest influence in filmmaking style?
I know who isn't.
This guy. No, my biggest influence. That's a question.
I was gonna answer that.
Go for it. Okay, so my biggest influence in filmmaking. I mean, I've been inspired so much over the years by just different filmmakers. A lot of times, it's more so the people that I'm like closely connected to, the people in my social circles, those that go to the same school as me, that help to inspire and push me to just like change up my creative style. Now that happens a lot on YouTube. Like I'm genuinely inspired by a lot of people, seeing people up their value, up the kind of videos that they're making on YouTube. Now you see it more and more across all genres, where people are like going out and getting like as much cool B-roll as they can, getting outside of their apartment. I try to do that, although a lot of times I just end up shooting the videos entirely in the apartment. But I think by seeing that, I get more inspired to want to up my game and make my videos even better. I don't get as much inspired by like the big directors, like, you know, any major.
Baz Luhrmann's.
Not really, no.
Baz, you're not good enough.
I think it's
Move over, Baz.
so disconnected from what I do.
Yeah.
That I'm not working on like $100 million films.
Who is your biggest influence?
Okay, I'm going to give a shout out to Steve Bogda. He was, I think, the first inspiration I had for somebody who was an amazing filmmaker. He went to my high school.
Cute.
And Chris Newhard, one of my best friends and a DP I work with a lot, went to school with him at the Art Institute in Philadelphia. But he basically, like, just what he was doing with cameras and cinematography with limited resources at such a young age, and being able to see somebody that's like a year older than me do those things inspired me a whole lot.
I'm gonna yawn.
Yeah, no, you're gonna yawn? I'm pretty sure you were mid-yawn.
Should we hit the smoke machine?
Oh, you think so? I think we're good, actually. I think that it probably...
Let's hit it.
Okay, we'll hit it. Fine.
Woo!
See that?
It's getting sexy.
All right, we'll get a little pop in the back. I think it's pretty good, though. You literally still can't see the background. All right. Did you want to read this one?
Daniel McGroddy. Hey, both. I mostly just do photography, but I was curious about getting both of your perspectives with regard to the very basics of setting up your business, from starting out from scratch all the way to getting set up and having clients.
Let's start with that. There's like
also
an A, B, and C underneath that, but let's just start with the sub-bullet point 1.
Good question.
This is interesting for you to tackle because I have had the pleasure of seeing you go from just panicked, doubt, terrified, literally terrified, crying. Can I say that? Crying. Every day.
You can say that.
For 2 weeks straight. Every day. That's not even like an over-exaggeration.
Yeah, every day.
Just complete mess.
Like 2 months straight.
To now where it's unbelievable, like the 180-degree transformation that you've made, the confidence that you now have, and also just the amount of work that you have. What was that process like for you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was really stressful in terms, and we've spoken about this on the podcast before, like really backing myself. But in regard to the very basics of setting up my business, so something I was really resistant to that Matt really encouraged me to do from the beginning was like to brand myself and my business. And I was like, that's such a tosser thing to do. Like, who am I to be like, I'm not Natalie Pidding, I'm Kimchi Creative. Like, it's just me. Like, it kind of just felt like, really, what's the word? Like a bit into myself or arrogant.
A bit fake too. It might feel
fraudulent.
Fake.
Yeah. Like I kind of just, I felt like so weird about it. And I just couldn't even think about that. And, you know, Matt kept suggesting it. And then one day, I think it was for me just finding the name and it just clicked and I was able to get energized by the idea of kimchi and like just the kind of personality that brings as like an icon for my business. I would suggest there are many different ways to start a very successful business. I don't think you need to take the path strictly that I took, but I think that finding a way to package what you do, storytell it, like we know that people buy into stories. So how are you going to storytell your photography service? You know, there's a lot of photographers out there and a lot of really, really good ones. So the way that you brand and package and talk about your business and your special sauce or like what you do that's different than to everyone else, the way you talk about that is your competitive advantage for new clients.
I think on top of that too is like once you kind of develop this name and this identity, you started to believe in yourself more and you had something to believe in.
Yeah.
And I think like just as much, like no client, no customer is ever going to believe in you and pay for your services if you don't believe in yourself and believe in what you have to offer.
Yes. I also think about like, what's the novel way you can approach a client. So you have to think about the way that your competition is probably approaching clients. Like, hi, I'm a photographer. Let me know if you need any services. Just like a blank email. For someone in a creative field, that doesn't provide a lot of credibility in your creativity. So think about how you can be a little bit unique and inspire creativity in the way that you engage with clients. Doing things like LinkedIn cold reach outs is something like I do. It means that you get to chase the kind of clients that you want.
This is crazy simple, but Daniel's also got a few other like really sub bullet points that kind of get into the nitty gritty details. One is how do you receive payments from clients? Right now, most of the payments come through direct deposit. And that usually requires some kind of fee, but I don't generally have to worry about it because now I'm getting paid through a management company who manages all my integrations. Otherwise, I get paid through Google AdSense as well as through Patreon. They'll just send it to me, and then the fee ends up coming out of it. So that's direct deposit. When I was doing a lot of freelance work, it was checks. So companies would cut me a check and send it out. Right now, when I'm paying freelancers to work with me, we have it set up through Chase Bank. So my brother, who does like all the operation stuff, he'll have somebody set up in the system online, and then fill up the amount, the information, the address, all that stuff, and then issue a check, and then Chase Bank sends it out on behalf of us. And within 3 or 4 days, they get paid. So that stuff is the smallest problems. I would say like checks are way easier up front to deal with rather than dealing with all like you want to try to deal with as little complexity and trying not to let these things get in your way from getting started. Like all these little questions might be like, oh man, well, like it's so overwhelming. I don't know what to do. There's simple and easy solutions for all this stuff.
Yeah, and a piece of advice that Matt gave me when I started was, maybe for the first few clients, as you're trying to build a client roster and testimonials, you might want to, if you're in a position to do this, offer them a discount, but put in the contract and ask them that, with the discount, what I'd really love for you guys to do is recommend me and connect me via email with 3 other small businesses who might be in market for a photographer, because then you get leads and you're all about trying to start your business and build momentum very quickly. So that's a great thing to have up front as well.
Yeah, and I will hat tip to my friend Ramit Sethi. I'm pretty sure he's the one that has that. Again, I think like to dive and dig even deeper into this stuff, 2 people that are really great to look for inspiration for would be Gary Vee and Ramit Sethi. Gary Vee is great on like, how do you promote yourself? How do you get your message out there? How do you find new clients? Like he's got...
And very practical advice.
Really practical, really actionable stuff. So like thousands of hours of content. Check him out. Ramit Sethi has some great courses on that if you have the money to pay for them. Otherwise, there's lots of free stuff on his website, iwillteachyoutoberich.com. All that stuff is super valuable, and like that's what I relied on when I was getting started out. I mean, maybe down the road I'll talk about it more, and I think I probably will be able to do it more on social media as well as Patreon. I might even make a course like how to get started as a freelancer, just because I mean both of us have like learned so much from that, and I've been doing it for like 10 years. I started my business like 10 years ago. So I think that would be super interesting, but for now I don't have a whole lot of content on that. So how do you set up contracts, waivers, and all those kind of business logistic stuff?
I mean, I don't know. Contracts. I've copied yours. Like your frameworks.
Find Google contract example, freelancer, videographer, photographer, contract example. You'll find something via like an image search or Google search. Copy, paste, edit to suit yourself. Also, a lot of times it really depends on the risks that you're willing to take. You don't absolutely need a contract. That may slow you down as well and make you get a little bit worried about it. If you trust somebody, then you can go ahead with it. A lot of time, like this was key for me early on, was to do a 50% retainer. So especially on bigger projects, if it was a few $1,000s or more, I would ask for 50% up front. Yeah. That way I was guaranteed that money right away. It helped me to hire freelancers and other people I needed to. It gave me that capital that was necessary to make the video actually to finish it. But then also it just it gave me that guarantee that I was getting paid at least something.
Yep. That's really smart. I also don't like contracts in my head. In my head, I thought they were supposed to be like 30 pages long. Like they can be so straightforward, so simple, literally 2 pages.
I think really it's like not even like, I've never had a scenario where I've ever had to like use that in a court situation. What it is helpful though for is reference down the road. Like if a client ends up having a scope creep, which is a common term for when they keep asking for more and more and more, you can reference it and say, hey, actually, sorry, we've only got 3 revisions built into cost. Listen, I'll do a 4th one for you at no charge. I mean, you should be like willing to work with them as much as you can. But then after that, I'm going to have to start charging you hourly or per revision. This will definitely save you a lot of headaches down the road of just, projects that will never end. Cool. Stephen Wise asks, hey, Matt and Nat, hope you're both doing great. I've got 2 questions. How do you go about networking, especially in terms of client work? So networking, it's kind of a gross word.
I hate.
It's not fun.
Hate networking. I actually don't do it.
Let's see. Do you not do it? You do it, actually. You network in a way that you meet up with people for coffee. You did a lot of it, actually. You don't go to networking and like be like, hi, it's nice to meet you. I'm Natalie.
Yeah, I don't do that shit.
But you do the one-on-one networking.
Yeah, but even then, I have to be honest, I really don't like networking. I hate just the talk. I just find it like, what's even the point? But I know it is important. So like Matt said, I don't go to networking events. I know I should, but if I don't want to, fuck it.
There's unconventional networking events, like that one dinner thing we went to in Venice where like...
That's just meeting people, and it's more leisure.
That's networking.
But it's more leisure.
I know, but like every once in a while you meet somebody that like you really connect with. And like when you think about networking, it's kind of like spreading a novel virus. You meet one person.
Yeah.
And then you then connect and spread that virus to 5 other people about...
This is an awful way to phrase it.
No, you know what I mean, though? But like, okay, let's say we meet somebody who's a professional volleyball player at a random dinner, which actually happened. And then she finds out that you just started a business in brand strategy. And she's like, oh, actually, I've got a friend who's a...
So it's just about meeting people, really.
It's about meeting people.
Yeah, I also think, so Stephen said, I find that most events I've attended are super gross and unauthentic, and everyone just throws business cards around. Totally agree. So what I do is if there are people that I really want to meet with, so clients that I really want to work with, or just like-minded people in my same craft, like that I want to meet with and hopefully work for, I slide into their LinkedIn DMs and just introduce myself and say, would love to grab a cup of coffee. More than happy to pop around to your office and bring some flat whites and Lamingtons and just chat. I'd much rather that kind of laid back environment where we're just grabbing a cup of coffee than having this suited up business event where you're, flipping business cards to each other. I think that's awful too.
Mm-hmm. I think actually one interesting thing that I observed from you, which I have not observed from any other freelancer and which I have not done myself, is how much effort you put into a pitch. It's unreal. Literally days. You will spend sometimes up to
I think
2.
Sometimes it's too much time.
I think so. But
yeah.
But I think that there's probably listen, it's depending upon how big of a client you think this might be. If this client might end up giving you a revenue of $500,000 over the next 3 years, 100% you should be putting in like 3 days worth of effort into landing that client, because you also need to do what other people aren't doing.
And also how hard of a sell it is. So if you're a photographer and they haven't approached you saying we're looking for a photographer, but you've reached out saying, hey, I'd love to chat about your photography needs, you've obviously got to come prepared with some ideas on why they even need a photographer. Like, hey, I was checking out your past campaigns or your social media activity. I really think there's an opportunity to do X, Y, and Z. I'd love to do this for you, blah, blah, blah. So there's prep that goes into that. What I do as well, just as a freelancer, I'm on LinkedIn Premium, which means that I can see anyone who's looked at my profile, and which is great for me, because if there's people that I'd love to meet that kind of like visit my profile, then and even if they haven't hit connect with me, but they've like spied my profile, I hit them up straight away and I'm like, hey, so glad to connect. Would love to grab coffee. I mean, they've shown some kind of weak signal that they're interested in me or my skills. So it's helped me as like to create leads and network.
That's great. Agastya asks, question about your future travel and living goals. Are you planning on staying in the U.S. or back to Australia? Nat, did you still want to try living in London?
Oh my gosh.
Look at these people
wow.
keeping up to date with where you
know.
want to live.
I can't believe that.
Our travel plans are hindered now for May, which was going to be our wedding in Italy, but now we're
past that. We're beyond it.
We're beyond it. But at the same time
we're
now...
taking the high road.
We do like to make one trip every...
at least.
At least one international trip a year apart from like Australia.
Yeah.
So we do like to travel.
So I'm going to Sydney and Brisbane actually in April just for a week.
Maybe. We don't know.
I am.
We don't know. All right, you might get quarantined there.
And then we're going back again to Sydney for Chrissy
That's
this
Christmas.
year. Yeah. In terms of living in London, I mean, we're settled down here in LA. This is life, right? This is future living goals right here.
This is life.
In terms of living in London, I don't think that'll happen. Who knows? You know, there's so much life left to live.
There sure is. There sure
but
is.
at this stage, it's not something we are actively thinking or talking about.
Yeah. So, I mean, in terms of just, settling down, we're definitely in LA for likely the long term, but we're probably going to be doing travel every year. Some places that we want to go in the future. Obviously,
Singapore.
once the corona settles down a bit. Singapore for sure.
India.
To visit your nana.
No, my pawpaw.
Your your nana. And then, South Korea.
No. Oh, South Korea. Yes. India.
Japan.
China?
You don't want to go to China. Singapore is good enough for you.
I'd love to go back to Morocco.
New Zealand.
Ireland. I've done that. I don't know.
How about South
What
America?
Do you guys think?
People don't give enough love to South America.
I want to go on safari in Africa.
Yeah. Why don't you guys in the comments let us know the favorite place that you've been to?
Where should we go?
Where should we go? What's your favorite place?
Yeah, we want to know.
Okay. Let's check out some other questions here.
Do you like pina coladas? Or getting caught in the rain?
Okay, so I got a question here from Sherry. The question is, Nat and Matt, how do you maintain staying motivated while doing personal and passion projects, especially if you have a 9 to 6 job? And the only time you have left over to do your passion project is when you're home from work.
Dude, when I had a full-time job, I did not have time for passions. So I can't answer this question.
Depends how intense your job is. If you want like a really great reference and resource on how to execute on a passion project while you have a full-time job, I would suggest reading the 4-Hour Work Week. Tim Ferriss talks about how you can slowly start to negotiate your way to having more downtime. When you think about it, generally most jobs, all they care about is that you get the job done. And if you can negotiate working from home 1 day a week, say you're still able to get all the work done, but now you have maybe a little bit more flexible schedule where you can spend some of that day working from home, working on your passion or side project.
And you're not commuting, so you've got you don't have
saving time right there. So imagine if you could get 2 days a week where you work from home. Like, it's more and more likely that that's a possibility. If you're not able to do that, if your job doesn't allow it, if your job's making you work 14 hours a day, 12 hours a day, to the point where you have no time for passion projects, then maybe think about leaning into a more flexible job while you transition to spend more time on the passion project.
I think it's also like so we project manage at work, right? And then it's also like project managing your passions. So yeah, everyone's week is really, really tight. I can totally empathize with that. But if there's something you really want to do, project manage it. What's your end of the week goal? Like you have to have done X, Y, and Z on your passion project, and then you make time for it, because you've set a goal.
Use the mornings, use weekends. There will be sacrifices you have to make if you want to turn your passion into your full-time living. You have to make sacrifices. You can't have everything. You can't be going out at night, getting drunk every day or during the weekend.
Yeah.
There are going to be some times when you work late. There will likely be a lot of mornings that you'll have to spend working an hour or two here or there. I fortunately haven't really had to deal with this too much, though I did have to make the transition from freelance to full-time YouTube. And that was a transition that I did kind of like having the flexibility of working with freelance clients and just selecting only a short amount of them and just dwindling down the amount of time I was spending on them gave me some time to work on YouTube. And then eventually, if you really want to go full-time with that passion project, there is going to be that deciding moment where you say, this is it. This is when I really give it a shot. You will want to have runway. At least I would say it depends upon your ability to cope with like fear, uncertainty, and the unknown.
But also financial runway.
Like literal, I'm talking about literal financial runway.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's literally a practical feasibility to that. But then, give yourself 6 months, a year, whatever. The more you give yourself, the more likely you'll succeed because a lot of times it will take a year or 2 years to really, have something that is viable and that will give you an income and pay for your livelihood.
Good question.
Really great question. That was interesting. Gabe asks, hey guys, I have a few questions. Everybody asks a couple questions. You guys, we got question creep in here. People are asking 2, 3, sometimes 7 questions.
You guys are all
No, I love
creeps.
it. Super curious. Love the curiosity. Gabe asks, what mistakes have you made in your lives? What do you wish you did differently in the past? What mistakes have you made? Besides dating you.
I don't know if I've made any mistakes because you learn from them, right?
So you haven't made mistakes, but you learned from them. You don't view them as...
I don't view them as a mistake. I view them as learning opportunities.
Yeah, 'cause I think it's, maybe like, I don't think that either of us really dwell too much on shit that has happened in the past.
I know. Taking myself way too seriously earlier on in my career.
Okay.
And maybe even today.
Yeah.
But being even during, dude, I remember working, oh my God, I'm so, I hate myself. But I remember working in a retail sales store, a fashion brand when I was in Sydney when I was going through college. And, being 18 and just taking this was a casual sales assistant job, and taking my job so fucking seriously. So fucking seriously. I would email head management, HQ. We really need more resources in training because we are not equipped to know how to serve our VIP customers. They really come in expecting this experience and we don't have sufficient training to do X, Y, and Z. Girl, chill. And
but you know what? But this is the whole thing where I have a bit of anxiousness and impatience about myself. But dude, that is literally what created your success in your other jobs and your other roles. So would you totally get rid of it?
There's a time and place to take yourself seriously and take what you're doing seriously. And not to say that I should have rolled in and not given a fuck about work, but come on.
Yeah, maybe pull the brake 20%.
Yeah, come on. And then it even traveled into, my first job out of college and just taking my job so fucking seriously to the point where I would cry every Friday because I honestly thought it was the end of the earth. The end of the world that my work was not done. I was so overworked. And if X, Y, and Z wasn't done, a certain report, I would just shatter because I would be I'm fucked. I'm totally fucked. So, it's not life or death. I'm not a doctor, not saving lives, just chill. So I would say that's a mistake I've made and something I wish I did differently was just to not take things so seriously.
Gaining that perspective.
Yeah. And it's something that I'm still learning how to do, but I think I've become better at it.
Yeah. I think for me, this is a pretty general answer, but just letting fear get in your way. So, hiring employees was something that I kept pushing off and off and off because I think I was afraid of not being a good manager, not knowing what to do, having all this additional overhead that I would have to be worried about, and kind of thinking 20 steps in advance, which is like kind of like that anxiety, like dreading the future, thinking too much and over planning, where a lot of times you just need to like act quickly, make decisions, and then you will learn much quicker along the way.
Take smart risks.
Yeah, so like I've learned so much in starting to hire people. We just hired our third person, Tyga, who is going to be our junior editor and filmmaker, and I'm starting to get much more comfortable in this role of leading, of having employees, and I'm learning like so much. I've learned so much in these past like 4 months, just new skills that I've developed, new communication styles that I've honed, and I figured out how to work with a team and how to create a team that I'm proud of.
I'm proud of you.
Thanks, hon. One more question from Gabe here. What system, if any, do you have in place to start a new project you're not sure about, and how do you get going about starting it? Do you have anything like that?
I need to think about this question.
Okay, while you think about it, I have, if you guys saw the video that I made called This Productivity System Will Save Your Life, in it I talked about a checklist that I made whenever I say yes to a project. And I actually like went through the full list on an IGTV post that you guys can look up, but I'll just share those things here. So basically, if I'm ever, it's not for every single decision that I make, but if I'm stuck and I'm like, oh, like I don't really know if this is something that I really should do or not, this is something that I will look back and kind of like help me to get clear on why I'm doing something or not. And the questions I ask myself are, does it excite the hell out of me? I think I'm in a bit of a like privileged, unique position that I can ask that question. But that might be true of you if you're talking about passion projects. Everybody needs to pay bills, so maybe that might not be the question for you right now. Maybe your first question is, does this pay the bills? Another question I ask is, would I do this regardless of money? What will I have to give up to do this? Yawning again?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't get much sleep last night. Coronavirus.
Yeah, well, coronavirus also, I was doing the lucid dreaming thing and I woke you up at 5 a.m. Will it contribute? That's a video coming up. You'll see, don't worry. Will it contribute beyond myself? So am I making something that's actually going to help people, or is it literally just helping myself? Will I grow from this experience? Will I learn something? One thing Nat asked me recently when I was talking about doing live talks, she said, would you be proud of yourself if you did it? That's a really great question to ask. Will I regret not doing it? Very similar. But these are kind of questions that help me get to the heart of whether I should do something or not. And maybe they might help you as well. Did you think about it or no?
No, I don't know.
That's okay.
I haven't. Yeah, I'm sorry. I've let you down.
That's all right. Oh, that's a good one. You get excited about that one.
Yeah. Alec Kloss. Hi, Matt and Nat. I noticed a heavy Asian ingredient influence in your refrigerator during the Trying Minimalism video. Is there a favorite dish Nat likes to cook? Great observation, Alec. Yes, my fridge is very Asian inclined. There isn't a certain dish, a specific dish I like to cook. I like to cook things I've never cooked before. That's just what it is. Like I don't have a lot of like go-tos, like this is my signature, blah, blah, blah. I enjoy cooking because it's a vessel for experimentation for me. And, like, I'm like, oh, bit of this, bit of that. Let's try this. Oh, that's how you make it. I never knew that's how you make it. Oh, that's cool that, like, if you do it that way, it ends up like this. Yeah, but I really love, Asian food to me is the food that I grew up on. So it's like comfort food. So just even having like rice and kimchi and then having like, rice wine vinegar and chili oil and just to kind of dump on top, just that's like a comfort meal for me. And then like if I have miso soup as well that I can stir in with the rice, like I know it sounds weird, but that's like my ideal, like if I'm sick, that is what I'm eating.
It's funny because I feel like we are complete opposites in that regard.
Well, when Matt's sick, he wants like chicken noodle soup and saltine crackers
And when I'm not sick, I want chicken noodle soup and
saltine
saltine crackers. But like you love all these flavors. You love cooking new things every single time you cook something.
Yeah.
I cook the same meals every single week.
That's why we have a lot of condiments, just because I'm like trying and like a lot of different things.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm sick, I just want rice and soup mixed together. I think a lot of Asians can relate to that.
Jacqueline has a great question. Hi, Nat. I was wondering if there's any aspect of your life you would like to see Matt try for 1 week.
Consumerism. Mass consumerism for a week.
Buy shit for a week.
Let me see. An aspect of my life that I would like to see Matt try out for a week.
Remember that video? I think some people have done this video where like my girlfriend dressed me for a week, or my boyfriend dressed me for a week.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't hate what you wear, but like, if you were like a little bit more creative with your wardrobe, that might be exciting.
Actually, it would be funny, I think, for the channel, because I think people would be like, "Oh my god, look at Matt wearing different clothes."
Yeah,
we could just do like Rent the Runway or something, where like just like
yeah.
What if I wore like a suit?
But like, I also just don't want you to look like a loser.
No, and I look like suave.
Suave.
I'm gonna like go back on Tinder.
Ew. Is there an aspect of my life that I would like to see Matt try out for a week? Maybe even my diet. You know, like I think he might at a certain point be like, this is too much.
I kind of did do your diet when we were doing Sunbasket.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know.
So no. I don't know, your lifestyle is so boring. Like,
I mean, like, our lives aren't that different, you know? Really. Sexy, 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 sexy.
Sexy.
Got that sexy smoke in here.
Smoky, okay. Paul wants to know, what is your favorite social media platform and why is it your favorite?
On 3. 1, 2,
TikTok.
Instagram. TikTok, get the fuck out of here.
We love TikTok.
I do love TikTok.
TikTok I have the most fun. Honestly, it's once a month. Nat and I will be in
there
bed
for an hour.
and then we'll just be flying through TikToks. It's so creative, so funny.
What's the TikTok we do?
Well, we're like, high five. Come on. It's funny because that was in that video twice, and I literally was just asking for a high five, and she wouldn't do it.
That's a TikTok meme.
It's a TikTok meme where like the camera guy holds.
There's a
his
song
phone
that
out.
happens. I think it's like Earth, Fire,
Stand
Wind.
by me.
No, it's
like
not.
1,
Oh yeah,
2,
you're right.
3.
I'll be there.
I guess Instagram's like what do other people use besides Instagram, TikTok now?
YouTube, Facebook, Twitter,
Reddit. I go on Reddit a lot if you count that as social media. I kind of don't count that as social media.
Yeah.
Because it's not.
It is.
It's anonymous.
I only use Twitter when The Bachelor's on.
Yeah, I've been...
Because Batch Chat is so on point.
Batch Chat. I watched The Bachelor with Nat, which is fun.
It's the finale tonight.
Oh my goodness.
Go Madison.
Greg has a question for us. Have either of you ever had to deal with imposter syndrome?
Yes.
If so, do you have any tips on how you might overcome it?
Oh man.
No.
I'm lucky in that like I somehow look confident when I'm so not. Like I learned this about myself when I've had a few like really hard interviews where like in my head like I'm sweating, like drenched in sweat, just being like, why the fuck am I here? Like, and they're asking me questions where I'm like, I'm fucking guessing right now. Like, I've got no idea. This is so embarrassing. Get me out of here. This is a waste of my time. Like, this is so embarrassing. I've got no idea what's happening. And then at the end of the meeting, they're like, thank you so much for answering those questions so confidently. And I'm like, what? Like, wait, you thought that was confident? Like, I was like panicked. So I would really say like imposter syndrome is all in your head, right? It's a voice that is lying to you, telling you you can't do something, you're not worthy of something. And honestly, I feel like for me, what helps me is I fake it till I make it, and I kind of do that subconsciously, but it helps me enormously. So it's like you've got to, as hard as it is, it's hard to ignore that voice, but you have to override it. And you have to override it with your action. Like you have to continue to challenge yourself, do things that scare you, do things you feel like you have no right or license to do, until you prove yourself you can do it. And then you realize that voice was full of shit. It's something that I still, of course, struggle with. I think a lot of people do. I don't think it really goes away. But yeah, you just have to override it.
Yeah, I think I had the same exact feeling when I first started to record my podcast and film it, because it's a very unique thing where, like, most of the times you don't have your conversations filmed or recorded. And as popular as podcasts are, for me, that was totally new. This is probably like 3 years ago when I did my first one. But I remember when I was doing the interview, how much in my head I was and how much I was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Oh my God, what question do I ask? I don't know what I'm asking. Like, this is going to be a horrible pod. Like, all these things, all this doubt was filling my mind. And I thought I was gonna look like a complete idiot when I watched the video back. And then I watched it back and I was just sitting there like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, I was just confident. I was like, because you can't see that inner turmoil that's going on in somebody's head. And I think that was a big learning lesson for me, that, like, just stay calm. And if you stay calm in those moments where you feel like an imposter, you're going to be able to actually perform your best and answer the question in the right way and have the best podcast interview that you possibly can.
Yeah. And I also think that it's also being self-aware about your imposter syndrome. So, like, I still find myself in, like, stiff boardroom meetings with people who are twice my age and have 10 times more experience than I do. And I'm like, I intuitively am like, just be quiet because your voice doesn't matter here. And, you know, being aware of that kind of that cycle in my head allows me to challenge it on the spot and be like, no, who says I don't have a voice here? I can have a voice here. And, like, maybe it might surprise or shock people. Maybe it might shock me the most. But, like, it's just kind of identifying it, being aware of it, and then just, like, swiping it.
I think, self-awareness is really important. I think also, like, swiping at it when it doesn't resonate with you, but then also being self-aware enough to know where your flaws are. Because, like, you know, maybe sometimes you feel like an imposter because you haven't really put in the time. You know, if you're just getting started out as a freelance filmmaker, maybe you're nervous because you haven't put enough time to figure out how to use the camera, how to shoot it, how to edit it.
I think you got to fake it till you make it.
You're going to have to fake it anyway, but also, like, be self-aware enough to know when you need to improve on your skills. If you just completely blindly move forward and be like, no, I'm perfect, I know everything, and I'm like, whatever. Like, if you fake it too much, then you're not going to know where you need to improve.
But that's what the imposter syndrome is already telling you, that and giving you that doubt and, like, inspiring you to
for some people.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have imposter syndrome, then great for you.
Chill the fuck out a little bit.
But yeah.
Okay. James has a question for Natalie. I'm a 22-year-old from Sydney, but I'm looking to move to London at some point in the next 6 to 12 months. Just wondering if you have any...
everyone else.
Yeah. Just looking if you have any advice when it comes to making the leap to the other side of the world. I love Sydney more than anything anywhere I've ever traveled, and I know I'm going despite the climate and the distance from home, but I also need that experience living overseas for really changing myself for a few years. Spoken like a true Aussie.
I was like, this feels like I may have written this when I was 22. So I actually have a lot of mates who live in London from Sydney because that seems to be the path that a lot of Aussies take. You've got to do it. Like, when I moved to New York, I'd never been to New York. The weather is obviously atrocious in winter in New York. And, you know, I didn't have a job or anything like that. Obviously, it's scary, but, like, you have to remember, you've always got a home back in Sydney. Like, if it sucks, you just come home. Like, it's no, like, defeat. It's just like, oh, it wasn't for me. Tried it out. And good for you for trying it out. Yeah, you just got to do it. The fact that it's challenging is, like, so appealing and so awesome. Also, London, like, I hear is from friends, is, like, so much easier than so many other places in the world because there are so many Aussies, and Brits and Aussies culturally are pretty similar. There's some, like, you know, little differences, but, like, pretty similar. You know, super social, love going out. So yeah, I feel like you're going to love it. And if you don't, you just come home and you're still 22 or 23.
Give it a shot.
A lot of opportunities ahead of you.
Orkan Ayada wants to know how much we work on a daily or weekly basis.
Dude, I am living the dream right now.
But you weren't. Let's talk about maybe how many hours were you working with your corporate job? Dare we say corporate?
No. On a bad week, like I need to think about this.
70, 80, 70. 70 would be 10 hours
a day
for
weekends.
For 10 days.
On a bad week, yes. Yeah.
Where you would have to literally work the full weekend.
Yep.
And because there would definitely be days where you would work 12 hours a day.
Totally. Yep. On a bad week. So now, and this is because I've taken steps to manage my time and ensure that flexibility is a part of my work-life balance. I work, even on my days where I'm not booked for a job, I'm still working. Like today I'm not booked for a job, but I was still working. Like I had a client call scheduled, emails. I need to think about this. For maybe like, I'm working like 35 hours a week.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Yeah. So it's very manageable. I'm very lucky.
Mine varies as well. I was sprinting at the beginning of the year pretty hard, and I think I worked every day for 4 weeks straight, which was pretty brutal. And some of those days would be 12-hour days where I'd be like 7 to 7 working. It's pretty rare, I think, for me. I generally work probably 50 hours a week, I think.
Yeah, that sounds right.
50-ish hours a week. I think that would be fair to say. It's so difficult, right? Because but I think even with that, I'm now tracking my sleep with this Oura ring, and like I get 9 hours in bed every night. I get an average of at the very least 7 hours of sleep, but I'm in bed for 9 hours. It's just that I don't get like the most optimized sleep, but I'm not going to be in bed for 10 plus hours. So I feel like my sleep is great. I've been going to the gym on a nearly daily basis, so I feel really good about that. So now, even when I am busy or working a lot, I'm still making that time for myself. Yeah. And a lot of times, like I wake up at 7 o'clock and I'll write and check emails for maybe an hour or two, then go to the gym, then come back. So my days are kind of fluid, and it is very difficult to actually calculate the number of hours that you're working. And sometimes like I'll take an hour lunch, and sometimes I'll take a little bit of a break and play video games, and then a couple hours, and then I'll work a couple hours and end up working until 9 p.m. So yeah. I think that's kind of like the responsibility you have to take when you run your own business or you're a freelancer, is to like make sure that you are being honest with yourself and you're actually getting the work done, and just being aware of how you feel, like the internal barometer of like
how you feel, right?
Am I stressed out? Do I feel like I'm stretched too thin?
Just the idea of having a standardized how many hours, like, we should all be working 8 hours a day for 5 days a week. Like that's so standardized, and we're all so different, and other people have different stamina levels and different methods and ways they need to work, where it's more like fluid versus like this like block that we have every day. Yeah. Cool.
Any more questions? Let's see. There's okay. So Bastian wants to know 2 questions. Question number 1. Why did you decide to try minimalism for a week?
Because Matt made me. Next.
I asked you to because I thought it would be
and I can't say no because I do everything for you. Why did I decide to try?
Well, first of all, I think also when we were talking about the idea to do the experiment, a lot of times it's so closely interlinked with making a video and filmmaking that we're like, oh, and then what if we open it up with like a parody of you, where like you're wearing my shirt, and it's like
it's fun to brainstorm.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of fun, like even coming up with the sketches for the videos. Like we riff a lot and like joke a lot about the sketches.
I think you can kind of see like a moment of us like riffing, or like kind of being like riffing on the spot or trying to figure it out, is like when you put up that video on Instagram where you're throwing your phone, like, as I'm like, who the fuck is, and you're like, and like,
it's just like all the bloopers and outtakes.
Yeah, there was one take where like, because you were like, it's a friend, and I'm like, you didn't have any friends, and then we paused, and then at the same time we were like, good take, that was good, yeah,
good solid take.
You did a bit, I did a bop, yeah, it was good.
And I think that's what I enjoy most these days about the like just us working together. I think
because we kind of improv it, like we have a loose idea of like what the sketch will be, like, all right, we'll do something where we throw the phone and then we'll just riff and we'll just see what comes out, and like, so you're like, I don't have friends, oh no, you're like, he's my friend, and then we're just seeing if anything good comes out in the spot.
Yeah, and we are not very good at improv.
No.
But we find that if we do like 10 takes of something, we'll find one really funny take or at least one that's usable in the edit. Yeah. Those tend to be the most fun that I have. Though, I don't know, like, it's just...
So we're like not answering the question. Why did you decide to try minimalism for a week?
No, we answered it.
The question
because I asked you to do it, and then...
Oh, yeah. And I did it for a week, not 3 months, because 3 months feels...
Well, the original idea started with Courtney Carver. I was going to do an interview with her for the channel, and then I was thinking about, okay, if I do an interview with Courtney Carver, what kind of video could I make? How could I address and tackle this aspect of, say, decluttering your closet, trying Project 333? Like, how could I make that into an interesting video? And then I was like, well, maybe Nat tries Project 333 for, a week. She's not going to do it for a month. I just knew that. Like, she would not do it for 3 months. Not a chance. And then as I started to think about the idea more, I was like, well, actually, Natalie's never really full out tried minimalism. And as I started to do the digital minimalism aspects of everything, I was like, oh, maybe we could actually address these different areas of Nat's life where, what if she decluttered it or simplified it and went through this process? And then that's when I was like, oh, that's a more interesting video to me. She tried minimalism for a week versus Nat decluttered her closet.
Yeah.
Both would, I think, people would be interested in. I think the other one is just a better idea. And I think it ended up becoming a more interesting and dynamic story to tell. Last question of the day here. Of the things you tried, is there something you would like to keep doing? And that's in terms of minimalism. I think that's how the question's phrased. How about this? Because I think in the video we already you said nah. You were like nah.
Yeah, I think what I usually do, but I really should do more, is clearing out my closet and donating. So I probably do that like once every year or 2 years, but I do need to do it more because I do like it. Like, I do like taking things that I don't wear anymore and donating that to people who can use it, because I'm like, it doesn't need to sit in my closet and gather dust.
And a lot of times it's like you wear them maybe once or twice, and you actually just you miscalculated how much you would want or need something.
Yeah.
But that's
my more extravagant items.
Yeah.
My pink feather boa, where I was like, I don't have a pink feather boa.
Yeah, you should get it. But that's not uncommon. I think most people can relate to that. And I think when I went shopping frequently and I had a lot of clothes, all the time I'd buy things and be like, oh, I like this. Yeah.
Well, sometimes you buy it for a specific occasion. Like, I've got this really important meeting coming up, or like I've got this wedding coming up where, do you know what I love? I'm so into Rent the Runway. Yeah, I used it recently when I went to London, and
What did you rent?
I rented a coat. It was a green leopard print faux fur coat. And I was like, this is fun. So I rented that when I went to London for a few days and then gave it back when I returned to LA. What was cool about it was it felt new. It felt like very on trend. Well, if you want to call green leopard print faux fur on trend, it is. But the good thing is, like, I didn't need to buy this coat that was going to be out of season in probably 2 months' time, and then wear it once or twice. So, yeah, really into Rent the Runway. It's a free plug. I was like,
I was thinking in my head, is she going to go for it? Is she going to go for it?
I was all up in my head.
It wasn't as smooth.
I know. Next time.
Alrighty, guys, that does it for this week's
No, that's embarrassing.
episode
Stop doing that.
of The Secret Podcast. Episode number 25 in the bank. Thank you guys so much for your questions. And thank you, Natalie, for being here as a part of it.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Peace.
See you guys. Bye. Thanks for watching. We're listening if you're listening.